you mentioned the Nikes. Have
Yeah.
you tested them with the Stride?
Yeah. Oh,
See
yeah,
if
yeah.
there's any different, like the Next Percent, the newest
Next
ones?
percent. Well, Next Percent's hard to get in the US right now. They did an international release, and we've had a couple people wear them. And for me personally, the 4% works fine. It is like, because I've had the original version up to the Flyknit version. I actually am really interested in the difference shoe by shoe, because I have a lot of shoes from working a running store in the past. If people talk about like having one pair of shoes, I don't want to talk about how many pairs of shoes I have right now. But like, I've tested it personally. A couple people, in the office, we've put them to the test. We probably have 3 or 4 pairs laying around the office from different tests that we've done. So yeah, we notice differences for sure. There's different metrics that we can track. One specifically is leg spring stiffness. And that's actually probably one of my favorite metrics, because it's something that not a lot of people understand. We don't understand it as fully as I think we will in the future, in terms of what actually influences things. What are things you can look for? Can you actually get a sort of live look at leg spring stiffness and be able to determine when you need to move on to the next step of your workout and stuff? Is those are the ideas I had this morning on my workout after looking at my data. But specifically, the 4% will work for me. But for one of my coworkers who's he's a 25K runner, he's run 65 minutes and a half. He ran a marathon a month ago, and he ran 2:30 something. It wasn't what he wanted at all. He went through halfway in 68 minutes. So he was on track for a very good time, but he was wearing the 4% because he bought he bought a pair. He said, okay, I've invested this amount of money. I know in workouts, compared to the Adidas Adios, the Adidas Adios actually gives me a full 1 point higher leg spring stiffness. So for him, he had a 11.0 kilonewtons per meter LSS. And so for him, that's pretty high. That's higher than average. It's in the top 5% of people that have LSS while running at that pace. But then when he puts the 4% on, it drops a full point. And so he was like, you know what, I don't really care about what the Stride says right now. I'm just going to go run in the 4% because that's what everybody else is going to run with. I don't want to miss out on that benefit. But then for him, it's not necessarily the reason why he didn't have as good of a race. But then 2 weeks later, when he started to work out again, he put the Adidas Adios on. His LSS was right back up to that very high amount. So for him, he can test in his own personal training, not lab testing, not comparing things as a ABC XYZ 1 2 3. But for him, when he's running marathon pace, he is more efficient in the Adios. And that's something that he's able to find, and he's able to educate himself with more in the future. And we find that all the time, just with, different people asking questions on our Facebook group, like, oh, specifically about the 4%, is it all the hype? And people, 30 people comment, say like, it works for me, it doesn't work for me. And there's, oh, no surprise, a bell curve of people that it works for. So it's kind of funny. And actually, the original study was done here in Boulder too, for the 4% average of 4%. It was somewhere between I think -1 and up to -7% is like the distribution, and then they were like, oh yeah, it's 4% average, so we're going to call it the 4%. So actually, yeah, very, very, very funny for that. But yeah, specifically for that, there are tons of real world examples where people use Stride to see, what works better for them. It doesn't even have to be the 4% shoe. It can be, this shoe or that shoe, or, running this pace, up this incline, down this incline, on this surface, all this stuff. It's, pretty limitless. And if we had, double the amount of people working for us right now, we'd be able to build some sort of front end system for people to be able to track all this stuff, but that's probably coming in a couple of years. But there's all these things you can figure out besides just looking at the power with Stride.